Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us at the Provider Lounge at the American Healthcare Annual Conference. Today we're here with Paul Liistro. He has an organization in Central Connecticut. He's the owner and CEO of Arbors of Brook. Hey Paul, want to tell us a little bit about your organization?
Well, first, Kris, I want you to know I'm flattered and honored to be here. Harmony Healthcare has got an imprint, a real big footprint in our industry, and we're glad that you're there. And so thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome.
I am very much like many independent owner-operators. I am second generation in the business. My mother started the business because she was a licensed practical nurse working in the hospital, and she didn't like being told what to do by doctors. So she and her sister, she had 5 other siblings, 6 total, all got into the nursing home business in the late 50s, before Medicare and before Medicaid. And then of course when Medicare and Medicaid came, they started growing and building. And at one point in time, my family would have owned 20% of the nursing home beds in Connecticut in 1980. We were never one company. We were family businesses, making a living, making a difference. And we had transition, I think maybe in the late 1985, 1990. We started moving. I came back to the business. I was working away. I'd gone to business school, came back, and then decided to get into the business. And been working in the business ever since.
And we're lucky to have you. I mean, just all the changes, we need savvy businessmen to help us with all the reform, all the changes, value-based purchasing. Tell us a little bit about how you see the future and maybe some strategies that you can share with other consumers or owners.
Sure, no, I'd be glad to do that. You know, having been brought up in the business, I have swept out a lot of construction debris in the business because my uncle, my mother's brother, was a contractor, and I had 20 cousins. 15 were old enough to sweep a broom and haul a shovel, and we would go to all the relatives' nursing homes during the 60s and 70s, and we would clean them out. When they were opened, I did everything except caregive. I worked in the kitchen, I was in maintenance, I mowed the lawn, I stripped floors of wax, I put wax on, and those are the things I did. We had no technology. I used to joke, as a matter of fact, that the only technology we had was a 4-channel intercom that went from the nurse's station to the administrator's office to the kitchen, and the 4th channel came to our kitchen in our house that was 150 feet away from the nursing home.
That's fantastic.
My mother would get on the phone and say, "Go back to work, stop chit-chatting."
That's fantastic.
Now I say that because you've asked me what about some of the trends that are affecting us. And for the first time in the last 5 years or so, technology has been making a huge difference in many different ways. And what we've been focused on ever since 5-star got elevated this past summer with adding 5 more quality measures, 4 of them adding to the 5-star component. We have focused on using technology to be as good as we can be in survey. Payroll-based journal is going to be taking care of payroll, and payroll goes up and down as census goes up and down, and the only real benefit you can do is hire registered nurses. And we have also looked for some technology to help us with the quality measures, and we have found them. And so we're starting to employ them, and everything has, I'm not sure if it's a cause and effect, but now what we're seeing is that while the staff members are putting information in, they're having a hard time analyzing it, having a hard time understanding what does it mean. And so now we're looking into creating a position called a data analytics nurse. And this data analytics nurse actually is someone who is very savvy with the clinical aspect of what goes on in the nursing home. He or she does not have to be in the nursing home. They can be working at home in their casual clothes, plugging into our systems, because most of what we do is in the cloud, downloading the analysis, looking indeed at specific patient impacts, and then communicating back to the patient care planning team to do better patient-centered care. And I look at that as productivity in an industry where it's people caring for people. We're providing care to people who need care, and it's sometimes hard to understand what they really need unless you start seeing all the data come together. And so we're seeing technology make a big difference to our business. Now, if I'm disgruntled about one thing, no one's paying for it. So we've got a hardware issue, and many years ago we went from, I think they were called blade servers, and we had a server for everybody's application. And then we went to virtual servers, and we had a more fluid system. But now that system is old, and we have to replace it, and we need to go to the cloud, but probably have some stuff on site, some information being collected. The software is getting more and more and more, as I indicated. So we're using an EHR called Point Click Care, and they're great partners, except every time we plug into someone else's software, they want to get paid for doing it, as well as the person third-party software. And so it becomes more expensive. And they don't give you a break. Sorry, Point Click Care. And I'm a very aggressive and assertive user of Point Click Care software.
Yep, understood.
We have a lot of software, and they are good partners.
The feedback's a gift. So, and when you talk about software and this data analytic component, I'm extremely intrigued by it, because that we were so excited to get the data and the information, but one needed to pause and say, wait a minute, someone has to interpret it, because with that volume of data comes time.
Yeah.
So you have to identify what is of value and what is not. So that's, no one has said this to me, and that's my tagline right now, that data analytic, professional.
Well, just as it's an evolution in our facilities, Kris, different roles get assumed, different roles get created, and then the relationships we have with maybe even Harmony Healthcare change, because you see a lot of different environments, you see a lot of different outcomes, a lot of different mission-driven providers. And you might be able to come back with best practices, you might be able to interpret the data better than we can, because what I'm looking at doing is creating something from the ground up. I'm still not sold that that's the right thing to do. So I'm looking for my providers to be my third-party consultants, if you will, to be maybe taking a new evolutionary role on, because we need the information. I should tell you, we have two different buildings. Between the two buildings, we used to have 800 admissions a year. One building had 500, another had 3. We are now having 1,200 admissions a year. We've gone up, in 3 years, we've gone up 50%. And now, I should tell you, our length of stay is going down. So the lines have crossed, if you will. And what
That's more work.
It's more work, and so we need to figure out how to do it more efficiently. Requirements of participation has become another layer. But I have to tell you that the philosophy we have with the requirements of participation is, if you understand the perception of CMS, of our business, you'll understand their intentions. And so I have taken that and I'm drilling it into my staff, and we've all bought onto it, because what it really means is that there are certain facilities that do things to cut corners. They have a disagreeable patient come into their building, whatever it may be. It might be a psychiatric patient, it might be a behavioral patient, it might be a bariatric, it might be a very medically complex patient, and they're looking to discharge them. Well, CMS doesn't want that to happen. CMS is raising the bar, and they want us to become clinically astute at what we're doing. What does that mean? Accept only those people who you can take care of, so that you can take care of them. Be more focused on their individual care, make it more interdisciplinary. That's why they want a CNA on the care planning team. So once you have understand the perception, you can deal better with what we have to do. And so we are creating tools, tips, and templates to get through the requirements of participation. We're not going to struggle with it. We're not going to complain about it. We're going to see it's another way of making us all better, and it's a coach telling you to stroke harder, run faster, jump higher.
Excellent.
And it's going to make a difference.
It's going to make a difference. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Paul Liistro, so much for coming today.
My pleasure,
Thank
Kris.
you. Excellent information.
Thank you.
You're brilliant. Thank you.